Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Welcome to DBL. Quick shout out to Emily, one of our beautiful fact checkers. She passed the LSATs. She's so mad at me. I'm so sorry. I blew her up. Do you ever feel lonely? If you answered yes, you are not alone. About 1 in 2 adults report feeling lonely, and it's such a big problem in this country that the Surgeon General has declared it the latest public health epidemic. It can even be deadly. Take a look at what the Surgeon General had to say about it.
Research shows that loneliness and isolation are associated with a greater risk of heart disease, dementia, stroke, depression, anxiety, and premature death. Risk of premature death to levels comparable to smoking daily.
So, DBL Nation, we really want to hear from you. How often do you feel lonely? Go to dblvote.com. What do you guys think about loneliness epidemic? Let's first talk about how we got here. I have to imagine the pandemic was an enormous part of it.
Of course.
This was not a thing before the pandemic. I mean, it was a thing,
it was
that
definitely
we were
a
talking
thing.
about on television.
I think that the pandemic normalized the feeling of being lonely because there were a lot of people who had to isolate by themselves, and some people, it went on for years. I saw a young woman on social media talking about the fact that she hadn't been touched in years and how it was affecting her mental health, and it was like the most devastating thing. And I think a lot of people can actually relate to this. We were just having a conversation yesterday about like when people lash out on social media, and it's like there's 2 different responses, and I can't help but really have empathy for people because I know that although they're being less than nice
aggressive,
or just very overly aggressive or evil in some situations, but it's like I just feel so bad because it's like once you've really sunken into a place like that and you don't feel like even the people around you in a community can help, it is a very defeating feeling. You know, it causes people to act out in different ways.
Absolutely. Jeff, have you ever felt lonely?
Yeah, I do. I feel in my own way, right? But if I've ever felt like really lonely in the world, I'll join like a flag football league or a bocce ball league. When I was in California, I still had my friends, but we wanted to meet other people. You know what I mean? So it's very easy. I know it's not as easily done than said. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Yeah. But there's things out there, an art class, a bowling club, a book club, fill in the blank. There's things that people could do to get better. I think people are so fearful of that getting together in a group. I think social media, and I hate blaming social media for everything that's happening in this world because there's a problem before it. But this is a big problem. Social media is a big problem. People don't want to interact one-on-one with other people. They rather text. They rather hide in their basement. They rather lash out because they're feeling bad about themselves inside and make other people feel bad about themselves. But you can get better. There are things you could do if you want, if you really do. If you want to meet other people, there's a million things you could do.
One of those things which a lot of people did was, like, I went to Hebrew schools, synagogues, churches. Those were a meeting part of the town. The church bell, that's how you knew the time. So what about people being worried about shootings in churches and I mean, you've got to add all these layers to you always say take 1 step. That's 10 steps to get to a church or a synagogue, right? How do you feel about
tough,
that?
And I've said this before on the show, the fact that there's nowhere to really meet publicly, meet other people that you wouldn't otherwise have a reason to be in the same room with them without paying money. There's nowhere to go anymore. Even going to a coffee shop, you still have to pay money.
That's a really good call.
There used to be...
Yeah, but you could go to the park. There are things.
It's hard to approach people at the park and be like, hi, I'm Jeff. Would you like to be friends?
Yeah,
what I'm talking about is back in the day, our table at GM, before the unions were all destroyed, would look like this. Our lunch table would look like this. So we would talk, and Jeff would tell me about his kids, and Tori would tell me about what they're doing, all these kinds of things. So when somebody later would talk to Jeff and be like, can you believe black people are doing this? He'd be like, I sit with black people. Shut up. But because we don't have that lunch table anymore, everybody's isolated. So when somebody pulls you away, you haven't sat across from anybody that doesn't look and feel exactly like you for about 5 years now. So anything that somebody says is very plausible. Did you hear the host of Daily Blast Live? They're all AI and they're really trying to get our kids. Somebody be like, yeah, I heard that too. And now this ridiculous stuff, they used to at the lunch table, somebody be like, shut up, Al. Now it just gets perpetuated because there's no real life.
Square.
Yes, there's no real life to be like, what they're saying is not true because I experience it. So our perception of this fake reality, which is the social media world and everybody's coming to get you and the woke mob, becomes a real thing for a lot of people.
Well, I think it also has to do with generations because apparently there's 3 different times that you can feel the most lonely. And one of those times is when you are in your elder years.
Yeah, the 80s.
And so now you're not only up against a proximity issue in terms of people that you are able to socialize with, but there's also a technological issue. My mom just talked about this group that she signed up for. She hasn't been, she just retired a couple years ago. The place where they live isn't the place where they've lived, for decades. So it's new in a social scene. And so now she's like, well, they play euchre here, so I guess I have to learn how to play euchre.
Right.
And she's like, I'm trying to help sign up some of the other seniors, but they're unfamiliar with how to utilize the computer.
Point.
So now she's going there to help people sign up because that's a barrier of entry as well.
That's such a great point.
Yeah, so there are different things that, it's like, it's very different when you're lonely and you're in your 30s versus when you're lonely and you're in your 70s.
Right. And the 3 inflection points where I want to tell people are late 20s, mid 50s, and in your 80s. Those are the 3 times you feel, or the studies found the most lonely, or those are sort of inflection points.
Yeah, and if you think about those age groups you mentioned, I'm sorry. We've seen through social media that those are the ones where people are vulnerable to getting sucked into things like QAnon, getting sucked into things that are scams or things that are not good for them, because when you're lonely in your late 30s and you're searching, what's my purpose? In your 50s, I have my kids, they don't respect me. What's going on? There's always somebody there to fill in the gaps about why the world that you're perceiving is the way that it is. And a lot of times those forces are not for your overall good. So I think there's a reason why that same demo of loneliness also is the same demo that's most subject to being pulled into cults and scams and things like that.
Yeah, just quickly to put a button on this, I think social aspects of where we are in society has a lot to do with it, right? Like, don't be friends with them, they're a Democrat or Republican, or this person's black, or that person's gay, or this person drinks Bud Light. Dude, what? Dude, can't we just have a conversation? And you're not allowed in your circle to
tribal.
Yeah, to be with other people, and then you lash out at somebody, whether it be a family member or a member of your community or someone else, and then guess what? Then you have no friends.
Right.
It's how you talk to other people, and some people have to look in the mirror and say, you know what, that's on me. I treated that person disrespectful, or I did this, or I did that. It's not all like on your own. You've caused some of these things yourself.
Yeah,
too.
look inwards. Look inwards.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the poll results. How often do you feel lonely? A lot has the most. 35% of you say a lot. I just want to say out there, I've been really lonely. I get it. And if it helps, just know that someone who you think has all these, it's everyone. We all feel it. It doesn't discriminate, and I am seeing you, and it stinks, and it's hard, but we can do it together. Coming up on DBL, our interview with George Lopez and his daughter Mayan. They're telling us all about working together on their show Lopez versus Lopez. And is the AI apocalypse a-coming? The new data that says millions of jobs are at risk. Stay tuned for that convo.
Nuh-uh, Tori, don't do that. No.
Yeah, I'm this close to breaking.
Stop putting yourself in this conversation.
I mean, this is as real as it gets.
I think I won that one.
Okay, I just want to say something really, really quickly. Back in your Neanderthal days, and you were trying to live with woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers, you would become in a tribe because it would make you safer, right? So when you feel lonely and you feel like you don't have a tribe, you go into a panic that's fight or flight in your lizard brain, your oldest part of your brain. And it makes, for me, loneliness equals danger. Danger, danger, danger. I don't have a tribe. I don't have anyone protecting me. And it goes all the way back to it's not useful, but I just wanted you to understand that's why it becomes so, it's as bad as smoking. It's as bad as smoking. Yes.
I mean, if you think about who goes after kids for...
But it's meant, your physical health.
For any kind of white nationalist group or something, they'll go after the kids online. that are obviously online for a long time.
Yeah.
Don't have any direction,
right.
probably don't have a solid
appreciate
parental
you.
figure there. And, you know,
But, like,
it
inside out,
gives
like,
you a vulnerability
it
to
does.
all these things.
But like inside, it makes you as bad as smoking. Like that's how bad your inside psychosomatically change. When you feel I don't have a tribe, your body starts dying. I mean, I know it's already dying, but in a really real physical way. Sorry, Erica, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, we talk about the internet so much, but before that, it was street games. Like,
Yeah, and they'd
you
find
know,
kids
find
wandering
kids who
around
didn't
with
have
no
like
parental
supervision,
tribe,
don't
right?
have friends, you know, like, and then, oh, come in and be with us. But I do think that the conversation is important because the conversation actually lends credibility, and I know that people are truly suffering from, I mean, extreme loneliness and lack of touch, and that's something that I don't know if there's like one answer, but I do feel like people kind of helping to put themselves out there and getting creative about what they could do to form those connections is really important.
The DBL Chapter. Welcome back to DBL. I'm excited to talk about this. It's one of the biggest topics of convo so far in 2023, artificial intelligence, also known as AI. If you're unfamiliar, there are all sorts of new AI technologies like ChatGPT. That's one you might have heard of a lot. They can do incredible things like allowing you to have almost human-like conversations with it. It can also answer complicated questions. It can plan your vacations. It can write emails, essays, and more. But there is a dark side. Geoffrey Hinton, I want you to see him. This is known as the godfather of AI. He left Google, I believe, yesterday or this week due to his concerns about the dangerous trajectory of AI development. He now says he regrets his life's work. Hinton warns that we may be unleashing something harmful into the world, from misinformation to job losses and even threats to humanity. Speaking of which, a new report says these emerging technologies could lead to the loss of 14 million jobs. Some of the jobs most at risk: bank tellers, postal workers, cashiers, secretaries, and more. So what do we think of this new AI threat, and are we ready for this new world? A quick note, portions of the script I just read were written by AI.
That's scary, terrifying.
I'm telling you, you can do anything with this. Anything. The producers telling us you can put a picture of your room up and say, decorate it and find different ways, and it will come back with instantaneously mid-century, modern, minimalism.
Wow.
There goes interior design.
You know, I do appreciate the benefits of AI, but I am struggling with the idea that someone like Mr. Hinton
Yes.
Developed this software and anxiety if people like him were also boots on the ground to ensure that this can't be used for nefarious
Maybe get into the
purposes.
Biden administration or some kind of, just so he's in charge. Like, interesting.
Because I think anytime we don't have like some type of like stop to, you know, it can go in any direction, that's a problem. But also, y'all developed it. Like, so what are we doing here? I'm a little confused by this.
Yeah, when we were, I got a story, but it's the same with Tristan Harris, right? Who helped the internet get started, and like how you get addicted to it. And now he's like, whoa, thing has gotten too crazy. But we only have 90 seconds, but what do you think, Al?
No, that's a minute and a half. Go.
Well, I just was going to say, like, this is very scary around the world, right? Because when I was in Africa doing this missions trip, we showed these little boys like an iPad. They were plowing, and they have never seen a phone before. And they saw themselves, and they thought like we were the devil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're making videos that are AI and they're not fake of our president or whatever's going on here, you could influence your country very easily, like North Korea, and say, look what the Americans are doing here. I'm the one you need as your savior. That's the scary part.
You could even say I'm Kim Jong-un and do with AI and mince it all together and have a nuclear threat at some point.
Yeah, but I think it would be used for, that's kind of an apocalyptic take. I think kind of the worst thing that people could do is slowly take advantage of people by disseminating information that is not true over the course of decades. And that's the way that you condition an entire culture and an entire group of people against one another, especially ones that, like you said, Jeff, when you Not everybody's super internet savvy. Not everybody has an Erica to be like, does this look real? And she's like, no, I got that this morning.
Right.
What if you didn't have people in your group that are like that? A lot of people
like this. Al, sorry to interrupt you, but take a look at this. These are the two photos that went super viral. You guys might have seen this, Trump being arrested, and of course we also have the Pope wearing that puffy coat. Both of those are absolutely false. Artificially intelligent AI made those, and just like you said, that can influence an entire a riot. It could influence anything.
Or the stock market. I mean, we all love Succession, and there was a piece in last week's episode where it absolutely would have influenced the share price of said company based on the technology they were able to use and change the verbiage.
And what happens when somebody that we know gets caught doing something really shady on videotape and they're just like, that's not me?
Yeah.
Once the story's out there, how many people go back and correct it and say, oh, that was wrong? They just hear the first story and they don't know.
For sure. Interesting. Wow. Coming up on DBL, our interview with George Lopez and his daughter Mayan. This is not AI. They tell us all about what it is like acting together after having a strained relationship in the past.
Build a good credit score, and typically you'll find it easier and cheaper to get a loan. Several 11 Alive viewers emailed us asking if new policies enacted by the Biden administration are punishing homebuyers with good credit. Let's verify. Our sources are the Federal Housing Finance Agency, the National Association of Realtors, and Rohan Ganduri, Assistant Professor of Finance at Emory University's Gosueta Business School. The change that took effect May 1st involves fees that impact your mortgage interest rate. Factors include the size of your down payment and your credit score. The Federal Housing Finance Agency changed the way those fees are calculated for loans backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, two companies that guarantee home mortgages in the United States. Ganduri tells us it's true. Fees will increase for many with good credit and drop for many with lower credit scores. But it won't impact all home buyers.
But I want to say that a majority of the homeowners in the U.S. will be impacted by this because most of the loans are loans that are in some ways guaranteed by Fannie and Freddie.
The National Association of Realtors says there have been multiple changes to the fees since they began in 2008. The Federal Housing Finance Agency says one of the goals is to support lower-income borrowers. Ganduri says despite the changes, it's still better to keep your score high.
You will end up paying lower costs when you're trying to finance your mortgage. It's just that you are not going to be paying as low as you were.
So we can verify fees will be slightly higher for some home buyers with good credit scores, but it will still cost them less than borrowers with lower scores in the long run.
Dad, do you take Mom to be your ex-wife? To not have and to never hold till death do you part?
Can we negotiate the never hold part?
Welcome back to DBL. They say good things come in twos, and that's especially true for our next guests, a dad and daughter duo who went from estranged family to sitcom co-stars. You know him best for a stand-up and self-titled sitcom, George Lopez, and she is the co-creator, producer, and star of Lopez vs. Lopez. Check out our interview with George and Mayan Lopez. Please welcome George and Mayan Lopez.
Yes. So, a lot of families have dysfunction in common. So, George, how would you rank your family on a dysfunctional scale?
It's almost like when we try to convert to the metric system like 40 years ago, they haven't even created the scale that they would weigh the dysfunction of my biological family.
They got to get the scale they weigh the whales with.
Yeah. So Lopez versus Lopez is all about an estranged father and daughter reconnecting. So Mayan, how did your own relationship inspire the show?
This whole show started from a TikTok that I made, actually, of me making jokes and trying to relate to people about divorced families, mending relationships. And one of the TikToks that I made went on the For You page of our now showrunner and also co-creator, Debbie Wolf. And she saw something in my father and I's dynamic and me, and here we are at the season finale of Lopez versus Lopez. So it's really crazy to think that like Mayan and George, I call her Shmayan, I call her Sitcom Mayan. It's just get confusing. But our characters really, from the beginning to now, have really represented the real life of what my dad and I have gone through. Like that, we're able to be as stronger at the end, and now we get to hopefully build on for more and more.
Now, Mayan, you grew up on the set of George Lopez. Do you find a lot of your dad's humor in your own? Like, what do you guys have in common, and what do you see as like a little bit of a difference?
You know, I got very lucky because both of my parents are hysterical. My mom is probably one of the funniest people that I know. She is hilarious. And I think with my dad, I think I definitely inherited the quick things will just come into my head. I think the quickness. You know, I think when I displayed it even when I was a little kid, and my dad was like, "It's genetic," you know, she's got it, and I think that still carries over to today. I think I see a lot of my comedy style with my dad and being able to take chances, but I also see the influence of my mom and then what I've discovered within myself.
That's amazing. Well, family dynamics are an interesting thing. What have you both learned about what good parenting is from each other?
For mine, I've learned that she's able to forgive. And when I was growing up, we never forgave. And a grudge like 40 years was just the beginning. Oh, wow. And none of that should be looked at as a badge of honor. So mine's taught me the ability to be able to forgive.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
And I will go to a story of one time my dad did ask me years ago, Mayan, am I a good dad? And I took a second. I had to think about the right response, and I just went, better now. And I think that is what I have to say today.
One time out this window, mine says, are you an alcoholic? And I said, what did you say? Are you an alcoholic? Hey, listen, if you have a problem with me and my life, why don't you stop taking my money? And she said, you look overheated. Let me get you a beer.
Yes. Oh, God. Thank you, guys. George and Mayan, DBL Nation. Lopez versus Lopez airs Tuesdays on NBC, streaming next day on Peacock. You two are a delight. Thank you
hilarious,
so
guys.
much.
Thank
My
you.
makeup sweating off. I was laughing. That "Do You Want a Beer" line was that's
that was good.
That's an all-time.
Get a beer. That's right. We'll be right back.
When it gets dark, your brain naturally produces the hormone melatonin to help you fall asleep. Some people take melatonin supplements to help speed up that process. The recommended dosage for melatonin varies depending on a person's age and symptoms, but the Sleep Foundation says 1 to 5 milligrams should work for most adults. Verify viewer Heidi texted us to ask if it's true that melatonin dosage numbers are incorrect on labels. So let's verify. Have studies found some melatonin supplements contain mislabeled doses? These are our sources. An April 2023 peer-reviewed study on melatonin doses published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that 22 out of 25 of the melatonin gummy products analyzed were inaccurately labeled. According to the study, in products that contained melatonin, the actual quantity of melatonin ranged from 74% to 347% of the labeled quantity. One melatonin gummy brand didn't actually contain any melatonin at all. A 2017 study of 16 Canadian melatonin brands found similar results. Actual melatonin doses ranged from 17% to 478% of the labeled quantity. So we can verify, yes, recent studies have found some melatonin supplements contain mislabeled doses. So, are these doses dangerous? The Sleep Foundation says high doses of melatonin can cause side effects like headaches, stomach cramps, dizziness, and mood changes. But the supplement is unlikely to cause a lethal overdose, according to the National Poison Control Center. If you're planning to purchase melatonin supplements, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine and other experts recommend looking for bottles marked with this seal. It means the product is verified by the United States Pharmacopeia, an independent scientific nonprofit organization that sets standards for medicine in the United States. Dr. Peter A. Cohen, a professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School, says a USP stamp on the bottle vastly decreases the likelihood of too much or too little melatonin in a supplement. With your Verify, I'm Ariante Till.
1 in 12 Americans has asthma, and spring allergies and warm weather activities can make some people more likely to reach for their inhalers. They're so common they were actually the topic of a recent trending conversation online, asking, is there a proper way to dispose of an inhaler? We checked out these sources to verify. According to the FDA, inhalers are dangerous if they're punctured or burned because they're pressurized. The District of Columbia doesn't accept any prescription medication in the trash or recycling and warns not to flush pills or pour them down the sink either. Kenneth Mendez, CEO of the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America, says some pharmacies and even some police and fire stations have medicine prescription drop boxes.
So don't want any of the medication to get in the water supply, for example, or if someone gets hold of them, they could be misused.
We checked with pharmacies in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, and each of them said they accept your used inhalers. So we can verify, yes, there is a proper way to dispose of used inhalers. Call your nearest pharmacy to see if they'll accept them. On our website, we help you out with this. We have a list of all the locations in D.C. with pharmacies with prescription drug drop boxes. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
Escape to paradise for your chance to win the perfect family getaway. Watch DBL every day for a word of the day. Then enter at dailyblastlive.com/beaches for your chance to win a 4-day, 3-night beaches resort stay for a family of 4 to a beaches resorts destination in Jamaica or Turks and Caicos. Today's Beaches Resorts word of the day is sunglasses. The winner will be announced on DBL May 24th.
We are always striving to make DBL better. We could not do it without your help. So please take a few minutes to complete a very quick survey. Just simply go to dailyblastlive.com/survey or scan the QR code on the screen with your camera phone. It's totally anonymous, so feel free to really give your honest thoughts about how good I am on the show. Now, before we go, summer is around the corner and many of us might have vacations planned that require long flights. We got some in-seat stretches to help you avoid stiffness. So it's time for some joint and muscle support, brought to you by Omega XL. So to help your back, I want everyone to try this at home too. Try a seated twist. Place both your hands on the left armrest and twist to your left. Hold for 5 seconds, and then I want you to switch sides. That's going to crack that back. Lovely. Next, to help your hips and ankles, lean back and bring one knee towards your chest and do some ankle circles. I want you to do this for 5 seconds, and then I want you to switch legs. I'm wearing a skirt. I cannot do it. Omega XL has improved the lives of millions of consumers, supported by 30 years of clinical research. Omega XL's powerful and proven benefits have transformed the lives of athletes, celebrities, and dedicated daily users. So call 1-800-813-6801 or visit omegaxl.com for more information. That's good for blood clots on long flights.
That felt good.
It felt good?
Actually do that.
You were the only one to do it, so thanks, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow.